You'd had a back and forth on the Twitters with one Vivek Ramaswamy, who currently is boasting about getting, who was the only African-American anchor in this business before I joined him in prime at CNN, Don Lemon. He's boasting about getting him fired. He thinks that is somehow going to be a big, flag for his run for president. Your thoughts on him? Because you've been back and forth with him online.
You know, when he first started, I thought, okay, here's an Indian American, funny name, we disagree. Hopefully he makes a good showing or does something well. And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, Joy. My phone blew up with other Indian Americans saying, make it clear he doesn't speak for us. Yeah. I mean, to sit there lecturing a black man about black history was totally uncalled for. And then he didn't have all his historical facts. I mean, the Indian American community in this country owes a huge debt to the African American community. If it weren't for the Civil Rights Movement, the 1965 Immigration Reform Act wouldn't have passed. My parents wouldn't have come to America. Before that, basically, immigrants from Asia and Africa were not allowed to come. It was highly discriminatory.
It's really ironic because neither his nor my parents could have come here under the rules before the Civil Rights Act, before that 65 Civil Rights Bill, but he's acting as if the NRA somehow saved African Americans in the Civil War. The NRA wasn't even formed until 1871. Well, he doesn't know anything about African American history. He clearly doesn't know the reasons for the Civil War because he thinks the purpose of the Civil War was to get black people the right to bear arms. Well, I mean, what?
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. We got to take a look at another video on Vivek Ramaswamy today, who has been on fire lately and has been on fire, quite frankly, ever since he got Don Lemon booted off CNN. Now, the video we about to take a look at today is Vivek Ramaswamy issuing a public statement to Reid, who, as we saw in the clip played in the intro, had no problem talking about Vivek Ramaswamy and how wrong he is and how false he is and how little he knows about American history and black American history and so on and so forth. She has no problem talking about him to another Indian man who shares her views and, who's a Democrat politician. She can talk about him to another Indian person, but she doesn't want to talk to him directly. Now, we all know, if you've been following Vivek's campaign at all, he has no issue showing up anywhere and talking anywhere. We've seen him on CNN. We just recently seen him on The Breakfast Club. He makes appearances here, there, everywhere. Vivek Ramaswamy is one person who you have to respect his ability and his wantingness to just go and have a debate and openly publicized debate where you can pick and choose. Who do you rock with more at the end of it? And Vivek has been winning the favor of a lot of people because of that. He's not anti debate. He wants the debates. But we're about to take a look at his public statement that he issued to Reid, and then we're going to talk about it and break it down later. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe while we watching. Now let's roll it.
In the Dred Scott case, Chief Justice Taney held for the Supreme Court that black people could not be citizens before the Civil War because that would allow them to own guns. After the Civil War, the first anti-gun laws, gun control laws that were passed in this country were actually passed to stop black people from owning guns. These are some of the facts that I educated Don Lemon on set in a heated exchange that we had shortly before his firing. So shortly after that exchange, Joy Reid, an MSNBC host, has Ro Khanna, a Democratic politician who happens to be an Indian American, as a stand-in for the Indian American view, criticizing me for supposedly stating falsehoods. Actually, everything I stated is factually true based on U.S. history, but criticizing at length my supposed falsehoods, and then has Ro Khanna effectively licking her feet, which is exactly what she wanted on air, talking about how Indian Americans owe black Americans a debt of gratitude. So I thought it was remarkable that here's a TV host, supposedly who wants to engage in open debate about my views on this post-Civil War history, who's talking about me on air extensively to another Indian American second-rate stand-in, but won't talk to me directly, so I made an offer. I said, if you want to have a debate about this, if you think that your recounting of the post-Civil War history is any different than mine, let's have that debate in the open. What do we get? Silence. This is what the modern left does, and Joy Reid embodies it. Very well, actually. Cower in fear and hide. Talk a big game when you're talking to your own community, when you're talking to the people who agree with you, but cower in fear when it comes to actually confronting the other side in open debate. Now, more recently, she was spouting off about affirmative action after the Supreme Court came down with its ruling, saying that she would not have gotten into Harvard without affirmative action. I believe her. I think that's probably true. But then she also complained that she was judged negatively by her peers because she got in based on affirmative action. I actually said that that's wrong. It's wrong to Black Americans, it's wrong to Asian Americans or white Americans who are discriminated against, but it's even unfair to Black Americans, many of whom I went to school with, who would have gone in meritocratically anyway. It's unfair that they're judged that way. So I said so, and then Joy Reid, again, classic pattern, talking about me instead of to me, says that, oh, Vivek Ramaswamy also wouldn't have gotten into Harvard but for affirmative action. That is a lie, and it reflects a shocking combination of gall and ignorance, failing to pay attention to the fact that that case argued in front of the Supreme Court was brought on behalf of Asian Americans, that includes Indian Americans, who are systematically discriminated against, penalized by affirmative action, which rewards Black and Hispanic Americans. So that combination of ignorance but self-confidence embodies the modern left. And the sad part of it is, folks like Joy Reid, again, they have utter, total, apparent comfort with spewing falsehoods and doing it to only the silos and the echo chambers that agree with them. Totally comfortable to talk about me at length and all the reasons why I'm supposedly wrong, when in fact I'm grounded in fact. But what I say is, okay, if I believe in my views and you believe in yours, I'm open to having it out in the open. That's where I talk to Chuck Todd or Don Lemon, go on the Breakfast Club. I show up and believe in open dialogue and debate. That's how we get to truth. It's a shame to see that some of the leading commentators for the modern left, when push comes to shove, really just go back into their caves to hide from the truth, wallowing in their own fear. What I'll say is, Joy, from one alum to another, the offer still stands. I understand why you'd like to hide from debate, but I think it's better for the country if you're actually engaging with the people who disagree with you, rather than talking about them with falsehoods without actually confronting the facts.
All right, so you guys saw that. Now, like I said, I find it funny. If Joy Reid claims that Vivek Ramaswamy knows so little, and apparently she knows so much, then debating him, having him on her show so they can have a debated discussion should be a breeze. It should be a walk in the park. She should just be able to school him effortlessly in a debate because she's debating somebody that knows nothing, right?
He doesn't know anything about African-American history. He clearly doesn't know the reasons for the Civil War because he thinks the purpose of the Civil War was to get Black people the right to bear arms.
But we all know that that's not true and that that is not the case. And see, the big difference between these two figures, Vivek Ramaswamy and Joy Reid, and one of the reasons why people like Joy Reid are, have lost so much credibility and people like Vivek Ramaswamy have been taking over the internet and on fire is because when you listen to Joy Reid talk, you're listening to a MSNBC talking head who has certain things that they need to say and certain lines that they need to toe in order to even have their job and have their space, their slot on TV that they have. So that you're getting a very narrative-driven, narrative-directed type of opinion from Joy Reid. But when you hear Vivek Ramaswamy talk, he's a lot more. He seems a lot more authentic in what he's saying, and that he believes in the things that he's saying. So my last comment on that topic is that we need to have more open discussions and debates. Like Vivek said, Joy Reid doesn't mind talking about other people from her echo chamber, but she isn't so comfortable sitting across from these exact same people who she's talking about. And we need to have more open discussions so that the general public can actually see what it's like when one set of ideals and two figureheads battle each other, so that we can actually make an informed decision about these topics, and so that the people being spoken about can actually represent themselves, in a situation. Because when you have one person like Joy Reid just blabbing narratives about somebody, it brainwashes people into actually believing things about certain individuals like Vivek Ramaswamy, before they even actually really hear him, hear what his platform is about and what he actually has to say. So next point I want to bring up that we hear often, we hear it a lot. We actually heard it in the Breakfast Club interview. It was brought up in a slightly different fashion than in this case. But the woman who was interviewing Vivek Ramaswamy in the Breakfast Club interview said that Vivek Ramaswamy has been sitting down doing nothing for 20 years, making millions, benefiting off of the backs of slavery, off the backs of black slaves, and off the backs of her black ancestors. And it was brought up here again in this in the situation with Joy Reid and Ro Khanna, where Ro Khanna says that Indians owe black Americans a debt of gratitude, like Vivek Ramaswamy said, kissing her feet on air, which is exactly what she wanted.
I mean, to sit there lecturing a black man about black history was totally uncalled for. And then he didn't have all his historical facts. I mean, the Indian American community in this country owes a huge debt to the African American community. If it weren't for the civil rights movement.
Now, and it's just funny, right? Because we talk about affirmative action. Like Vivek Ramaswamy said, affirmative action being repealed from school admissions was in favor and benefited Asian students. It benefited the Asian Americans. Vivek Ramaswamy is Asian American. I don't know if Joy Reid realizes that or not, but Indians are considered Asian. She's a smart woman. On paper, she should know that. So Indian Americans, which are Asian Americans, benefited from affirmative action being pulled from college admissions. So the whole point that she tried to bring up about Vivek Ramaswamy benefiting from affirmative action like she did, it doesn't even make sense, because Joy Reid is black and Vivek Ramaswamy is Asian. So, those are like two total opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to affirmative action. Affirmative action was introduced to help blacks and overwhelmingly helps blacks and Latinos, while Vivek Ramaswamy is Asian American. I don't even understand why Joy Reid brought that up. It doesn't even make sense. So to wrap up, you guys, I think as we continue to see Vivek Ramaswamy going and sitting down with people on new and different platforms and introducing themselves to different demographics online and having these debates, I think we're going to continue to see more people hate on him and try to throw shame on him and dirt on his name, because he's a person of color, an Indian American who doesn't believe in the victimhood mentality approach to life and the victimhood mentality approach to, solving your problems. He believes in self-accountability, self-discipline, meritocracy. He believes in things like this. And, this is nothing new. When you have somebody, looks at life that way and speaks proudly about it, for some reason, there's always a bit of shame that wants to be brought upon them. And especially when you're talking about black Americans, when you're talking about black Americans, the victimhood mentality is often, closely attributed and tied to that. You can't talk about the history of black Americans without going back to slavery and racism and systemic this and systemic that. It'll always be brought up. I'm a believer that, in my opinion, I don't think you have to be black to talk about black history. That's another shaming tactic that they try to throw at Vivek Ramaswamy, especially after he sat down with Don Lemon. It's people like Ro Khanna said, he had the nerve to talk to a black person about black history. Well, just because you black, that doesn't mean you know everything about black history. It doesn't mean you know everything about American history. So if you know what you're talking about, then you should be able to talk about it. And if Don Lemon knew what he was talking about, then he would have been able to handle himself in that debate better and not get triggered on air. If Joy Reid knows what she's talking about, then she should be able to debate Vivek Ramaswamy, who she claims knows nothing about American history, about African American, about black history, right? But that's all I got for you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe on your way out the door. Please get in the comments and let me know what you thought about this. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. And until next time, you guys, I'm out of here. Peace.